Excuse me, would everybody please be seated? And the doors closed, and would everybody please remember to silence your cell phones?
Yeah, you saw it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to call to order the January 13, 2016 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Will the Secretary call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Irvine.
Here.
Dr. Sen.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Youngblood.
Here.
Ms. Alvarez-Rosales.
Here.
Chairman Silva.
Here.
We have a quorum of the committee with 6 members present.
Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of December 9, 2015. The minutes were previously distributed. May I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Will the Secretary call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Irvine.
Yes.
Dr. Sen.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood.
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Rosales.
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Our next order of business is the review of the finance report. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. Tom McCone, Acting CFO. I'm going to walk you through the November revenues and expenses, starting with system-generated revenues. So for the month of November, we had a positive month for starting with fare and pass revenue. Both the fare box and passes were up, total up 1.7 million to budget, and up 2.5 million to the prior November. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we had mild weather in November, especially compared to last year. This November was particularly mild, which encouraged ridership growth. In addition, we had a really strong month on the rail system. We saw strong growth of the O'Hare branch. The yellow line obviously was back in service for the full month of November. The green line, the brown line construction had wrapped up in November. It had been occurring all year. We'd had station closures on the weekends. But this November, that had completed. So all in all, it added up to a strong November for fare and pass revenue growth. On the non-fare box side, again, we're expecting half of the subsidy from the state for free and reduced fare rides. So we're booking half the budgeted amount. On the non-fare box side, we were aided by better than expected advertising results. This is driven by our digital advertising and stronger demand for our digital placements, for example, at our rail stations. So that increased our non-fare box revenue for November. In total, revenue is up then 1.1 million to budget and 1.3 million versus last year, even with the reduction in that reduced fare subsidy. Average fare was up versus budget and up versus last year because of those growth patterns I mentioned earlier. So year to date, fare and pass revenue, we are basically on budget, so $400,000 below what we had projected and $5 million ahead of last year, so a positive trend on our fare and pass revenue. Again, reduced fare subsidy, we're expecting half of that amount, so in total we have half of that up there for the year to date. Non-fare box is coming in slightly above budget. Again, the advertising revenue has helped that out this month. So in total, we're 13 million less than budget, and that's driven by the reduction in that subsidy. On the ridership side, again, I mentioned rail had strong growth in the month, so you can see it was up 2.2% versus last year, which is stronger than the year-to-date growth on the rail system, so it was stronger than it had been all year. Bus has been stable and about where we had been seeing it throughout the year. Weekdays in particular on the rail system were strong. Weekday growth was 3.2%. So again, that's a good sign on the system. On the expenses side, labor was basically flat to budget, and this is in line with our forecast for the year, expecting it sort of flat to budget to come in to make up for some of that positive variance earlier this year. Material was back close to budget. This is aided by the fact that we did have a mild November, so some of those weather-related material expenses that we put some contingency in for, we wouldn't necessarily need to take, and so this is a narrower variance than we had been seeing in prior months. Fuel and power are both positive to budget, continuing the trend that we had seen in prior months. And then other expenses, positive to budget. Again, that's consistent with our forecast. We're going to come in a little bit lower on other expenses because of lower non-capital grant revenue so far year to date, and then also slightly lower contractual expenditures. So year to date, the pattern is very similar to what we're seeing on the month. Favorability on the labor side, making up for unfavorability in the material category, and then fuel and power again trending positive to budget along with other expenses. So in total, you see 14.1 million positive variance to budget on the expenses side, a 13 million negative to budget on the revenue side. So again, we're in balance as we projected, and we're gonna finish the year on balance. And that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Tom, I've got a couple of questions. It might go back to page 2, but it probably also ties into page 4. One, so we finished up the loop link. I know CDOT. Have you seen an uptick in terms of bus ridership as a result of that?
So it's still early on the Loop Link side. It was opened up in the end of December, so obviously it's not going to show up in the November results. And it was sort of during the holiday season, so we're watching it closely. We took a preliminary sort of peek under the hood here to make sure that everything was going smoothly. And it seems like the ridership is at least where we've anticipated it to be. We're going to wait till numbers settle out in January and take out some of the year-over-year weather impacts that we have on there. But the signs right now are certainly pointing in a positive direction. The other thing that's going to assist us is the fact that this year bus ridership in particular has been affected by a lot of the construction downtown. So as that congestion clears up, I think that's going to help bus ridership as well.
And then in terms of page 4, how do we compare nationally to what's going on with rail and bus?
Yeah, so this is something that we watch on a monthly basis in terms of the results from other comparable agencies, New York, DC, Philadelphia, and others. This is very consistent with what we're seeing at other agencies. Our rail growth, in fact, is a little bit stronger than what other agencies are seeing. And our loss on the bus side is a little bit less than what other agencies are seeing. I think nationwide, what we've seen when we look at comparable agencies is that bus ridership is going down, rail ridership is going up. So this is very consistent with what is happening with the industry nationwide.
If I may, actually ask for some information, Chair, can you send me some information on the change in travel times in the loop?
Happy to. Yep, we'll get that to you.
How much has it decreased?
Yep.
Any other questions?
Why is the unfavorable variance for the labor? It looks like from most of the year we were favorable, and then November we have a negative unfavorable from a labor standpoint.
Yeah, so we had 300,000 off of 81 million is less than a percent. So it's basically on budget for the month. We did see unfavorability also in September in the labor category, and then when we looked at our forecast, which we put in our budget book, we had shown that we're going to use up some of that favorability that we had seen earlier in the year. What you'll note in November is that we did a little bit more winter prep than we had anticipated. So we ran a little bit more overtime preparing vehicles for the winter and things like that, which is just a little bit more than we had budgeted. So that's what specifically caused the November variance.
Any other questions? I have a question. We have seen, advertising growing. Is there anything else that we can do, to make it grow even faster?
Yeah, I think.
Or are we doing anything?
Obviously we're looking at all kinds of opportunities to do that. It's a great way to increase system-generated revenue. Again, where we've seen the strength has been on the digital side, and with those digital screens. So I think we're looking to maximize sort of the value of that asset and look for places where we can sort of put more of those, either more digital screens or get more demand for the existing digital screens that are out there.
Any other questions? There are no further questions. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing the sale of authority property located at the rear of A77 North Hermitage Avenue. Carol Murray, good morning.
Good morning. Carol Morey, Chief Planning Officer. The first ordinance is a sale of property located at the rear of 877 North Hermitage in Chicago. The CTA formerly operated the Logan Square line, which ran parallel to North Hermitage between West Washington Street and North Mormon Street. The right-of-way was located between the rear of properties along North Hermitage and the alley. Operations were discontinued in the 1960s. The structure was removed, and in 1964, the Chicago Transit Board authorized the sale of the right-of-way. In 1987, the Chicago Transit Board declared public bidding disadvantageous and authorized the sale of the remaining property, which we refer to as backlots. And the reason for the disadvantageous designation is that the property is really only useful to the adjacent property owner. So while the majority of the right-of-way has been sold to adjacent property owners, some property remains. Staff is recommending the sale of the back lot at the rear of 877 North Hermitage to Maria and Joseph Kanarek, who are the adjacent property owners. The value of the property was established at $70,000 by appraisal, and the proposed sale price is $72,000. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? And no questions, Carol. Thank you.
Okay?
If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a zoning bonus contribution pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning ordinance, brown purple line. Carol?
So the next ordinance would authorize the acceptance of a zoning bonus pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning code in the amount of $1,106,092. The zoning bonus relates to the proposed development at 301 to 331 West Illinois Street and will consist of a 24-story mixed-use residential and retail building. The proposed developer is John A. Buck. And the zoning bonus contribution amount was established pursuant to the zoning code. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago for certain property located on McCormick Boulevard, north of Our Street, Skokie, Illinois. Carol?
So this last ordinance would authorize a lease between the CTA and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, or MWRD, for the property located in Skokie, adjacent to McCormick Boulevard. This property is needed for Yellow Line operations. So in 1963, CTA acquired the assets of the Chicago, North Shore, and Milwaukee Railway, which operated the Skokie Swift, and those assets included a lease for this property. The original lease was for a 30-year term with a 30-year option, and the option term expired in December of 2014. Because lease negotiations were still underway, the board approved an extension of the lease at the December 2014 board meeting. Staff is now recommending a new long-term lease of the property with a reduced footprint. The original lease was for more land than is required for Yellow Line operations, and in order to reduce the overall cost of the leased property has been reduced from 420,000 square feet to roughly 141,000 square feet. The lease has a term of 39 years with a first-year annual rental fee of just over $100,000. The lease rate was set by appraisal pursuant to MWRD policy, which requires an annual rental fee of 10% of the fair market value of the property. The proposed lease would commence on February 1st, 2016. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Carol, I don't necessarily have a question about the ordinance. I'm just curious as to where we are with recovery, and this might be more of a Karen issue, with recovery for lost earnings by the authority regarding the yellow line.
We're working with our excess insurance, or our property insurance carrier, I misspoke. Basically, we've already submitted the costs that have been, firmed up, and we expect that we're going to be paid by our insurer, and then to the extent that then they will proceed against other parties to recoup those monies.
Okay. Two quick questions. One is, how
Go
big is
ahead.
the plot of land we're talking about?
I'm sorry?
How big is the land?
It's just over 140,000 square feet.
140,000? And it does not include that bus turnaround that's also in the boundary?
No, I don't believe it does, but I can double check on that and get back
Is
to you
that
on
also
that.
an MWRD property?
I can double check on that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, just we're comfortable that that's sufficient land for us to do our work on, right? I mean,
Yes,
Okay.
we've reviewed it with both operations and infrastructure, and they're comfortable with the footprint.
Okay.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for
Thank you.
approval?
Second?
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance declaring as a sole source and authorizing a customer work agreement with Commonwealth Edison for advanced engineering services to relocate the utilities for the red and purple modernization project. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Directors. Chris Bouchel, your Chief Infrastructure Officer. Before you have a recommendation for a customer work agreement with ComEd. This engineering effort is in association with Red Purple Modernization and determining optimal places to move and modify existing utilities, ComEd utilities in the area of the project. The work is only for engineering, and it is commensurate with both the planning and the engineering efforts that are currently underway for the project. If there are any further questions, I can take them at this time.
Any questions?
Yeah, Chris, is the work done in-house by ComEd, or do they outsource?
Generally speaking, they'll do it in-house, is my understanding. So there may be some discrete pieces that they would outsource, but they don't outsource a lot of engineering in this regard. They do outsource some construction and construction management, but not that much engineering.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they're going to outsource any of it. Is there an opportunity to work with some of our DBEs?
I'll certainly mention that to them, although my understanding is that it's going to be in-house.
Any other questions?
So, Chris, this is for all the stations under RPM. So this will cover the rest of the project?
Yeah, it is representing the major utility. There are some other ones out there, but this is the most significant of the utilities we'll need to look at. And I think the utilities in general occupy a fair amount of risk in a project like this, so getting ahead of the curve and understanding what we need to replace and where. And it covers both the project areas, the one in and around the bypass, as well as the four-station area to the north.
Any other questions?
This is not necessarily electric connection to the CTA. This is all utility.
It's all Commonwealth Edison. I would say principally it's not connections to the supply of traction power within the project areas. It may involve that. That's always a significant part of the grid. But generally speaking, it would be more local than that. Utilities that run in or around the street, in the alleys, and other areas that are adjacent to our structure or our stations.
So that we're paying so that they can just move it and make it convenient for us. It has nothing to do with us. Not much to do with us.
Yeah, it may involve, for example, power feeds to the stations. But in general, we're looking to remove utilities where there's potential for conflicts in the construction of the station, or conflicts in construction of various other structural components that would be associated with the project. So getting those clearly mapped and then the alternates designed is important on any big project for reducing risk.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for approval?
Second.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing an application to participate in the City of Chicago's Drive Clean Chicago Clean Truck Voucher Fund Program. Robert. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Robert Smith. I'm the Chief Transit Officer. I'm before you this morning to talk about the program. The City of Chicago has established a Drive Clean Truck Voucher Program. This program is designed to administer CMAQ funding to provide rebates to city-sponsored fleets that would put electric or hybrid technology on their vehicles. The CTA currently has 451 non-revenue vehicles in our fleet, so we definitely want to take a look at this, and we qualify. Of our 451 vehicles, 186 are leased, and 265 we own. There are 85 vans that we currently lease, and that's in the area that we're looking to actually talk to you about today and participate in. The staff is recommending that we participate in the program by partnering with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, who we lease some of our vehicles from. And Enterprise is our current vendor. We actually lease from them now. They would actually, in a new lease that we have coming up, would purchase the vehicles for us, make it a part of our program. They would install the equipment on the vehicles and apply for the rebate, and would charge that back to us over the 40-month lease period. The cost of putting this on there would be $10,000, of which 80% would be a rebate, leaving us a $2,000 expense that we'd need to work with. There are 4 vehicles that we're recommending be a part of the program for lease vans or small vehicles that we would work with, and it would cost us $48.97 per month for each of the vehicles. Based upon working with finance and our current fuel cost, our cost savings is estimated to be $94 and just right at $95 per vehicle, so we see it as an actual cost savings. Staff is recommending that we participate in the program, and we bring that to you today, and I'd be more than welcome to take any questions from you.
Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. So Robert, you're absolutely right. I mean, pricing is favorable today, but we know gasoline prices are gonna go back up. So what is the backstop for us as an agency, as gas prices start to creep back up, so that, what is favorable today doesn't eventually become a losing money proposition, let's say 3, 4, 5 years down the road as gas prices inch back up?
I will spend some more time talking with Tom McComb about that, but based upon what we've estimated, we believe for the 4 vehicles that we're working with and for the time period that we have right now, we believe that that's still a cost savings for us. But I'd have to rely on Tom and finance and some of their estimates for fuel.
And this is a 48-month lease?
It is, yes.
I'll just, Tom McCone, Finance. So just commenting on the savings. So first of all, I'd consider this a pilot. It's 4 vehicles. So it's a sort of a pilot. As Robert explained, there's potential there to expand to the rest of the fleet. So this gives us a good chance to look at whether or not these cost savings and the mileage actually bear out. At most, it would be the $2,000. That's if fuel was free, right? So it's definitely not going to go down. It's getting cheaper, but it's not going to be free. So we're definitely going to make that up. So if it's going to be marginal, whether or not it's highly favorable, I think will bear on the mileage that we put on these, and then what ultimately the cost of fuel is. So, but with something we're going to watch closely, and then obviously we'd have to take back to the board if we want to expand this program.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Our final order of business today is the review of 7 purchase and sales award recommendations. Ellen, good morning.
Good morning.
We will start with contract number A1. Any questions for contract A1?
Will it reduce, our fleet size?
It is reducing our fleet size. We currently have approximately 100 people from CTA headquarters that use this service. And if we had to replace those with vehicles, it would be about approximately another 10 vehicles we would have to purchase. Right, and additionally, we have parking fees we'd have to pay. It's about $200 a month in this location. We don't have to pay for those fees. It also costs us about $76 or 76 cents a mile to use the zip car, where it costs us 86 cents a mile to use our own vehicles, in addition to maintenance.
So we do save money.
We do save money.
Any other questions for A1? Let's move to review contract numbers B1 and B2. Any questions?
Why is the DBE goal on B1 only 2%? It would seem to me it would be something a little higher than 2%.
So for this particular procurement, the chemical that we're requiring requires a certain license, and not many DBEs have the license. So we looked to the pool of DBEs that actually have a license, and I think there's only about 2 that do. So in order to set the goal on, we have to set the goal on what's available for our DBEs.
Thank you.
Any other questions for B1 and B2? Let's review contract number C1 and C2. Any questions, please?
Yeah, I've got a question on C2. How many employees still receive paper checks?
I'm sorry, you're asking why the employees still receive paper checks?
Yeah, I mean, this is to really sort of manage in the Treasury Department. In this day and age, I'm just curious, how many folks are still receiving paper checks?
So it's roughly 15% receive paper checks. It's part of our.
That's 15% of the 10,000?
11,000, yeah.
Okay.
So it's still quite a few. I mean, we're issuing about 5,500 paper checks a month. Most of those are for payroll. So we're still issuing a lot of checks. Again, most of them are for payroll. It's part of our agreement with the union. We still have to provide that option. So there's still a number of employees who elect to receive paper checks.
Yeah, I'm just looking, it's about 400,000 a year. I mean, that's a lot of money. It would, and I'm sure we've tried to negotiate it away in the past, but this is something we should just continue to try to look at to shrink that number. I mean, in the day of electronic transfers and all of that, to me, this is an opportunity here to sort of, I think, again, continue to pay attention to it. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And one program that we have rolled out with Bank of America is the debit card option. So in the fall, we rolled that out so that employees could elect to receive their paycheck via a debit card, which makes it easier to, the funds are there more quickly, and then you can go to any ATM to withdraw them, a Bank of America ATM without charge. So we are seeing an uptick in that, especially with the newer employees, to drive this paper check number down.
So it is working, okay, the debit card.
Yeah, the numbers are they're still high, but they're going down.
It's certainly my intention as part of the collective bargaining negotiation process to raise this issue and see if we can eliminate the requirement. At this point in time, our employees have access to their payroll statements and kiosks that we have in all facilities. And in the general office, in our general office employees, they do not receive the paper checks anymore. So this is really a union issue that we have to work through. But I also had the same reaction you had when I came back and realized that we were still paying them out. I think that the other part of this is that most of the employees don't pick them up. So I think Tom brought into my office a few weeks ago, a stack, this high of checks that we had prepared that then got returned to us because the employees never received them. So from my perspective, there's no real benefit that we're generating from this, and it's something that we really need to change.
And I would be curious, does it involve active as well as retired employees who are getting paper checks?
We've only looked at the active employees since the pension is sort of separate pension board. So this is, when I mention these numbers, these are active employees. Yep.
Any other questions?
I just would think they'd want to get their money. They want faster money.
Can you talk a little bit, okay, about the C2, please? The 401K.
Just a couple of quick facts on the 401K and 457 deferred compensation plans. Currently, we have total assets in the plans of $420 million. There's 8,600 participants. It's voluntary. All the expenses are paid by the plan assets, and no CTA funds are used for the operation or the administration of the program. It was the end of the contract with our current provider. It was a pretty competitive bid. There were eight people that bid on the contract, and I think we got a real good competitive offer from Mass Mutual.
This is the first time that Mass Mutual worked with us?
Yes, as far as I'm aware.
Any questions?
No, do they work with other transit agencies?
Yeah, that was one of the evaluation criteria was their experience with the public sector agencies like transit. So they're used to working with agencies like the CTA.
Any other question for C1 or C2? Let's review E1. Any questions in E1? No questions. Let's review contract number G1. Any questions?
I did have a question on that, and so there's no DBE participation on that. Could you explain how we came to that?
So we reviewed the contract, and because it's something as simple as web hosting, we thought maybe there could be DB participation, but after we worked with the user group, we found that there's a virtual environment that they keep many of their clients in, so they're not able to break out a portion of that web hosting to a DB at this time. And then there's also a lot of custom software and hosting, and Hima might be able to expound on that just a little bit. But at this time, they're not able to break out. But we did talk to the user group and find that if there was any new developments within the contract where they do some new developing within the environment, that they do use a DBE for that.
So we could set a goal here because this contract's mainly, Hema Sundaram, CIO of BPF Technology. This contracts mainly provide two services to us. One is hosting for servers and upgrades and all that in a cloud environment, which how they do it is typically all their clients share the same infrastructure, so they're not able to carve out saying CTA server can be hosted by this one company. So that's not possible. And the second part of the services include maintenance. And there is a lot of custom code that they've developed over the years for interfaces and also content management that a DBE company would not have the same expertise to provide the business to them. And this is mainly maintenance, like Mary mentioned. If you ever decide that we need to do a whole new website, a design, then we would be able to definitely set a very high DBE goal and start that process.
And this is for how long? 3 years? Is this?
3 years with 2 one-year options.
Okay.
So that means, okay, that we will be always giving the same supplier, okay, we're gonna be giving the contract to the same one, okay, because of the,
We don't necessarily have to. This is maintenance of what is already built and existed. All
so
we're
it could
doing
be
is
changed, okay,
maintenance,
we
right,
find
could be
somebody.
changed, yes.
And if we look in the future, then we will be looking at DB participation.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Thank you.
And we're comfortable with the work they're doing, right?
Yes, communications department mainly uses their services and their SLAs, their responsiveness. They got great reviews from our communications departments.
Thank you. Any questions? If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place these 7 contracts of the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Since there is no further business to come before this committee, may I have a motion to recommend board approval of the omnibus?
So moved. Second.
Second. Will the secretary call the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Chairman Silva?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Chair, can I have 1 minute, please?
January 13th, 2016, with the secretary call the roll.
Yes, Ms. Irvine?
Here.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
We have a quorum of the board with 6 members present.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is the public comment section.
Yes, Chairman and Board, we have 3 public comment speakers who have contacted me earlier, and we'll start with Ms. Cynthia Allen, and just to remind you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
No problem. Well, I'm only here to put in a complaint against the contractor of Ventura. The employees that's on
Against
this.
who again?
Ventura.
Venture, okay.
Yes, the contract out by Chicago Transit Authority. And it's with the employees that's on this level inside the purchasing room where you purchase your Ventura cards at. On Monday, January the 4th, 2016, around 10 o'clock, I arrived into the new location, which is up on this level, and I approached the manager. I believe her name is Ivana, I don't know what it is. And I approached her with saying, Happy New Year, and how's your day, to break the ice. And I went on to tell her that I reloaded my card on the 29th of 2015, which is a Tuesday. I reloaded my 7-day pass. On Wednesday, which was the 30th, for some reason the pass did not work. So I came here to have it read. She read the pass. She says, well, there's nothing wrong with the pass. I don't quite understand why you wait till Monday to come. Why didn't you call? I proceeded to give her an explanation. I said I had a sick child with me and I didn't think to give you a call. And the gentleman that was on the platform of customer service allowed me to go through, and he said to contact the office on Clinton, which I did. She went on to belittle me and say, well, I have children, I know what that's like, but you still could have made a phone call. My point being, that was not the point. She did not come to a resolution. She came to make me a suspect, and she belittled me in front of the public. They started laughing. I did not get the response I was expecting. Number 2, I emphasized that she's not the police. She's there to service the public. If she has some concerns or fear about mine not being legitimate with my complaint, then she should take that up with her manager, which is Michael. I was only there to get a resolution. She gave me the 800 number where I should call, and I left very disappointed that I received that type of unprofessionalism from her, and she also has to represent 2 other employees that works there, 2 other females. I proceeded to go to customer service, and a Christine that works for corporate office reached out to me. She researched my concern. She emphasized, she looked at the cameras, however she did, and she reached out to me back on Wednesday, the 6th of 2016. She found a resolution. She said, we will give you your 4 days. She said, do you need another pass? I said, sure. I proceeded to bring out my Visa card and pay for another pass. Why am I here? I think that the staff that's been contracted out to Chicago Transit need to take a workshop on how to treat the public. That's not their money. They're not investors. They're not partners. They are employees. This is not my first time. When they were on Jefferson, the manager gave me the same drama. She emphasized, I know who you are, Ms. Allen. You brought this to us before. You should know better. You're intelligent. She questioned my intelligence. That had nothing to do with my concerns. And that's my only reason being here. That something needs to be done with them staff of the Ventra customer service.
Are these CTA employees or are they Ventra employees?
I believe they're Ventra employees, but I have a person here, Mike Nguyen, who can talk to her and follow up on her concern.
Yeah, because clearly, I would agree, customer service training is needed.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you see Michael in the back? Yeah. You see Michael in the back?
Thank
Okay.
you.
No, thank you for coming and bringing this to our attention. We
This is
appreciate
like a
it.
public outcry. I'm here on behalf of the other customers. There are customers that stand in line. One lady was so furious till a total stranger on Monday, which was the 4th, literally gave her the $5 because she couldn't comprehend why she had to pay $5. And to diffuse the conflict, the stranger just gave the lady $5. And then the woman says, the manager is very rude. She's just rude.
Okay.
So
No,
I
thank
just thought
you.
I'll come here
No.
and make
Thank
Chicago
you.
Transit Authority aware.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Keith Keisel. Keith?
Good morning.
Good
Good morning, Mr. Carter. My first time being in here since you've been the president. Try to make this as brief as possible, but I just want to piggyback on something you was discussing before this meeting started. I think I brought up the issue about saving money last year on the direct deposit slips. I'm glad you're discussing it now. But if you do go with the debit card, please try to have the ATMs in there from Bank of America, the ones that you could deposit the money there, because you don't want operators cashing their checks and going on the buses with all that money on them. Right, so try to get the kind where you can actually deposit the money into the bank, into the, with the credit card, the kind of, you know what I'm talking about, right? But I think I brought that issue last year, how much the CTA could save money because they're wasting the money to spend on direct deposit. We could just pull it out if we really need that. But I'm discussing today is about I'm coming as not just as an employee, but as a person who lives off of Ashland Avenue, who sometimes use the CTA myself. Without any public notice that I know, they eliminated as part of the service enhancement of the number 9 Ashland and eliminated almost every other stop along Ashland. One of those stops includes 52nd in Ashland, which happens to be one I use, but also is also used for many people, elderly, and those who are not feeling well, to the SS Medical Center. So the people going to the medical center have to walk over a block to get to the medical center. Also, on Garfield and Ashland, going northbound, and both sides, they eliminated the near side. That means if a customer wants to transfer eastbound from Ashland, which is a very popular bus going towards the Red Line or to the museum, they have to walk across 4 lanes of traffic to go from the far side back across 4 lanes of Garfield, which in that process, they could be missing the bus going eastbound because they eliminated the near side stop. Another one they eliminated was 75th in Ashland, which is right in front of the door of Walmart's, which means you got to go with your bags another block to 76th Street because they eliminated the stop on 75th. But I don't remember there was any public notice about them eliminating the stops where the community could voice their concern. And being I'm pretty much in the community in the 16th Ward, I probably would have heard about it. Also, I just want to add, I think I got about a minute or two left, on the venture cards, and I get this problem with the customers, especially those who are not familiar with the system. There's nothing that tells them that they, for the paper cards, that it's only good for 2 hours. I mean, you have to do your 2-hour transfers within 2 hours. There's nothing on there that tells them that. Now, of course, I would give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know what the other co-workers, but we need information to the customers to know that you have to, from the initial ride, you only have 2 hours to complete your ride. There's no information on there. And I want to bring this up. My last thing I want to bring up with the new chairman here, I brought up in the past about having a 12-hour pass and doing our service of 3 hours to change buses, since there's less buses going on our service. You give extra time for people to change buses, then bring back the 12-hour pass. Bring a 12-hour pass at the former cost of the former 24-hour pass. And that would eliminate a lot of pass backs, because most people just go to work, then come back home within 12 hours, and that eliminates the pass back. And I guess about 20 seconds left. If we can get security, I brought this up before, Mr. Carter, for the late night bus operators, with security at the terminals, the turnarounds, that's kind of like secluded, such as 47th and Lake Park or 87th and Racine, because if the last bus driver gets attacked there, nobody comes in to know, might not know for 2 hours that that person is attacked. So we can get security, and I brought this up before, at those turnarounds, especially the secluded ones, or even at least a camera as a deterrent that can perhaps help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keisel. And our final speaker today will be Mr. Parker.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Ronald Parker. I'm a South Side resident, and I want to commend the CTA on that red line track repair where the buses were transferred at Garfield. Didn't think CTA could do it. They did a wonderful job. I really enjoy getting on that 95th Street bus at Garfield and taking that express Dan Ryan right after 95th. And now that we have a repair job in this second year at 95th Street, I don't know if that's to repair the station, rebuild the station, but I was wondering, is there a model of this work taking place that's going to be finished? I don't know if that's the extension to 130th, or is it a complete repair of the station? But I'm asking, because someone tell me if there's a model of what's going to be finished.
It is actually a brand-new terminal. It's about a $280 million brand-new terminal. We do have renderings. I don't know if we've got a model, but we do have renderings. Chris Bouchel, Chris, raise your hand. Chris would have those renderings, and I know someone in communications would have them, but we do have renderings at the completion of it, which I think is sometime in 2017, what that station will look like. But it's going to be a brand-new station, both on the north and the south side.
Correct. I just discovered that the work on the south side, not any on the north end, so that made me think, okay, well, what's going on, what it's going to be, what it's going to look like.
Brand-new terminal.
Okay, now I understand. That was my comment. And again, I want to thank CTA for that red line repair. Now, what's the date, the finishing date for that work?
I think it's 2017.
2017?
Is that, am I right? 18?
18?
Okay, 2018.
Okay, again, and thank you for that good service on that red line, and hopefully we have a better station placed up there for the public.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Parker.
you.
And I'll be reaching out to you, Mr. Parker, as I told you I would before. Thank you. Chairman Pearson, that concludes the public comment section of today's board meeting.
Thanks, Greg. Our next order of business today is the approval of the December 9th, 2015 board minutes that were previously distributed.
Move it.
Second.
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez-Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is executive session. It is my understanding, Karen, that there will be no executive session today.
That's correct, Chairman.
Thank you, Karen. The next order of business today is board matters. It is my understanding, Greg, that there are no board matters.
That's correct, there is none, sir.
Okay, then our next order of business is a report from the Committee of Finance, Audit, and Budget. Director Silva.
The Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget met earlier this morning. The committee approved the December 2015 minutes and reviewed the finance report. The committee also reviewed and recommended for board approval the following items: an ordinance authorizing the sale of authority property located at the rear of A77 North Hermitage Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. An ordinance authorizing acceptance of a zoning bonus contribution pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning ordinance, Brown and Purple Line. An ordinance authorizing a lease agreement with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago for certain property located at McCormick Boulevard, north of Howard Street, Skokie, Illinois, yellow line. An ordinance declaring as a sole source and authorizing a customer work agreement with Commonwealth Edison for advanced engineering services to relocate utilities for the Red and Purple Line modernization project. An ordinance authorizing an application to participate in the City of Chicago Drive Clean Chicago Truck Voucher Fund Modernization Project, and 7 purchases and sales award recommendations. The committee recommended approval of all of these items and placed them on the omnibus for approval. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Director Silva. May I have a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Silva?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is a construction report. Chris?
So today's presentation includes 5 projects, 2 of which are in substantial completion, and this will be the last month that we'll report on them. The first of those is the Kimball, Princeton, and State substation projects. You've been through the whole cycle with these projects, the hole in the ground, the exterior building repairs, the pictures of the equipment being delivered or tested, and now we're in the final stage of showing you the installed equipment in the renovated spaces. So I'll underline the importance of these projects and the President's and the Mayor's investment in them. Substations are not particularly glamorous. They are necessary to provide traction power. Many of our substations are either at the end of their service lives or need expansion because of some of the increases in ridership that you've seen Tom and Carol and others talk about over the past month. So this equipment, while being not the most exciting picture I'll ever show, and no one is clamoring for renderings of the substations, they still are vital to our service. And I think the President understands that as well as the Mayor. 95th Terminal, work continues on the advanced package, in other words, on the foundations for the new South Terminal. We have started to work with the new design-build contractor on completing the design and moving forward the construction, particularly for the South Terminal, which will begin as the advanced package contractor completes their work in the spring. With the exception of this week's weather, we've been pretty blessed by good weather over the course of this winter, and construction activities have continued with very little interference. So we are you're seeing essentially the same sequence of construction that you saw on the west side, now on the east side. So the earth retention systems associated with constructing the new walls, which will subsequently become the foundations for the south terminal or the foundations for the various bus pads that will be built to support the service. Kind of underlining some of the points that the chairman raised, this is a new terminal, and one of the most important aspects of this is the increases in the terminal area for the provision of bus service. This more than doubles our real estate and enables us to continue to provide service in this area, but to be able to expand and to be able to provide that service, I think, in a more comfortable manner and in a modern manner. I mean, it's a modern facility, terminal facility. So again, we're in the digging part of this job on this east side, similar to what you've seen the contractor do on the west side. You'll see photographs that you'll think that I've just reversed them, but really they're new photographs. Wilson also continues on budget and on schedule. So we are working right now on the westernmost track and the new platform. You have seen this platform emerge over the months that I've shown pictures of it. It is an excellent contrast. This photograph is an excellent contrast between the new and the old. Not only do you see the contrast between an older platform to the south in terms of its width, you also see that the platform actually moves out, and we're improving the alignment and the infrastructure. One reason for the substantial price tag on this job is it's not just a station, it's also about a sustained investment in the infrastructure in the area. One of the there are two driving factors behind the width of the platform: egress, to provide better egress, also to provide accessibility, and in addition, I think security, better sight lines. So you really have an interesting contrast here between an older platform and a newer platform. And we have in the early part, in the end of the first quarter of this year, we will complete the work on this westernmost track, and we will be running trains on it and then starting to work our way to the east. And we'll be closing track 2, and we'll be using this platform. There'll be further announcements and discussions of that as that phase continues. You see here the construction of the new station under the new tracks. These are the foundations for the station. The Purple Line Express is the other project that reached substantial completion. That project reached substantial completion in December, so again, this will be the last month I'll be reporting on it. Those of you that ride the Purple Line are probably enjoying a much faster and more comfortable ride. Dr. Sen? But many customers in general, I think, have responded favorably to this improvement. You can get an example here. It's a little hard to see. This is a renovation of existing track. Again, it's kind of the outermost tracks, in the corridor between Lawrence and Howard. The O'Hare project, a continuing investment by the president and the mayor in the Blue Line. This is part of our Your New Blue project. It is, most importantly, a new elevator and accessibility at Addison, and then needed structural repairs, particularly on the platform of the remaining stations. You will see a fair number of concrete pictures like this one in this project. This is actually the extension of the platform. I sort of explained as we put an elevator near the existing head house, we need to push the whole station out just a little bit to the north in this case in order to accommodate that. This is the casting and the construction associated with that new platform. You begin to see, I think, you'll begin to see in next month how the platform itself is starting to take form as the canopy gets built. And then we'll subsequently start some of the structural repairs on other stations as well. Actually, there's a piece, it's a little hard to see, but there's a piece of the new canopy going over the new foundation. We're now in the point of constructing the actual canopy, for those of you that drive by and are wondering what it is. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Chris, I don't have a question. It's more of something. One, I like the format in which you're reporting out the projects. I'm just looking here. You've got the budget, construction value. One of the things, and maybe this is something that Mary can provide us with, just curious to track the DBE. Mm-hmm. You know, when we award all of these contracts, there's a DBE commitment, and a lot of these contracts over a period of time. And I'm just curious as to the commitment that was made, they're keeping their commitment, they've exceeded the commitment. Because it's like, we hear it the first day that we award the contract, and Mary might provide it, but where's Mary at? Just kind of going forward as these contracts come to closure, it would just be great to know, because a lot of these contractors come back and bid on future work. It would just be great for the board to know, as you report out, how are they doing in terms of their DBE commitment on these projects? So,
Yeah, we're working with Barry on that, and the president is also interested in seeing that information too. So we're trying to figure out a way to get
Yeah, it's like
it
go
up
through
there
the
and
lines.
present it in a way that makes sense.
you know, and I don't want to mess up the format here, because it's a great report out, and I love to hear that projects are on time and on budget. But I think important to the board as well as how they doing in terms of their commitment. And sometimes with some of the DBE work, it might be toward the end. So they might not have hit the target, but it's just great to know that they're on track of meeting their commitment versus them finishing like the Wilson Yard project. They complete the project, we never know, because we only see the beautiful project at the end. But in terms of DBE participation, it's hard to know if they actually exceeded their target, because as I've said before, whatever they commit to, I always consider that to be the floor, not the ceiling. So,
Absolutely.
We will-
I'll work with Mary on that.
Yeah, we'll reformat the report to add that information in there so you can have an ongoing understanding where the DBE commitment is relative to the overall project.
And I just think it helps you if they know that the board is gonna audit this every time, we're gonna look at it every time you come to report out what they're doing. It sort of holds their feet to the fire as well. So.
I guess-
Yeah, it makes sense, particularly when we reach substantial completion on a project, to be able to report back on you what the status of that effort is.
I guess
Absolutely.
in line with that, Mary might know this better, but do we have a compliance software with regards to these construction contracts that we use?
Yes, but I'll let Mary give you more detail.
Okay.
Yes, not just the construction contracts, though. We use B2G now, which is the software for our compliance, that we monitor all of our projects for CTA, for our DB participation, and for DB payments as well, prompt payment as well.
No, so that should be easy to get that,
Yes,
because
if
the
not,
city
yes.
uses
We'll
them all the
definitely
time.
work with Chris to
Okay,
make sure that-
great.
Any other questions for Chris? All right, thank you, Chris. Thanks, Mary. Greg, is there any new business to come before the board?
No, sir.
Since there are no new business to come before the board, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.